A massive week of Bahrain testing has just wrapped up. I'm going to recap every team's test to see who's going into Melbourne strong and who's going in not so hot. This is Last Week in Racing, and it's time to bloody talk about it. So let's start with the big four: Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren and Red Bull. Mercedes are looking incredibly strong, but their power unit has had some major reliability issues. Over testing, they had to do a complete engine change twice. The first after a critical failure, which ended Antonelli's run early, and the second, which also ended Antonelli's run early. He drew the short straw, and that was on the final day of testing, and that was because of a pneumatic pressure issue. I'm not going to pretend like I know what that means, but apparently it's bad. Now, this could be a worry for McLaren, as McLaren are a Mercedes customer team. Now, McLaren were still very high up in the timings. Not that that means much in testing, but let's assume no one is sandbagging. It's a tough ask to say that they're top two. Top four? Yes. Top two? I don't know. McLaren also had a few reliability issues, notably on the final day, which saw Lando Norris miss a huge chunk of testing time. It'll be interesting to see how these two teams go with the Mercedes power unit over a full race weekend. Now for Red Bull and their new power unit manufacturer, Ford. Red Bull, by their own admission, don't believe they are a top two team with the new power unit, which, I mean, that's fair. They only started the project 3.5 years ago, but to remain in the top four with a brand new unit that they've never produced before is impressive. Red Bull Ford powertrains focused on the reliability, which is unusual for Ford, because I was ready to hear some engine chimes for checking the engine. Yeah, but it's good that we haven't heard any of those yet. That being said, Red Bull did have a few issues with their chassis that caused some problems for HAAS, but nothing too major. Red Bull still looked pretty good and will probably trade blows with McLaren and Mercedes, but I can't see them contesting for Constructors' Championship. It'll be interesting to see how HAAS goes in that cursed second Red Bull seat. Now, Ferrari. It's year of the horse, and just based on testing, Ferrari looks incredibly strong, and they could be the team to beat. Their power unit has been incredibly reliable, and lap times from Leclerc have been unreal. Based solely off testing, I think Mercedes and Ferrari are going to be the top two constructors contenders. So Ferrari fans, you've got some hope, but Ferrari's main issue has always been race pace. So we'll have to wait until Melbourne to get a good idea of that. As for the Ferrari Therapist Hotline, another team might need it, so keep it handy. And what team might need it? Well, that would be Aston Martin. Jumping from the top four to the very bottom of the grid, Aston Martin had an absolute nightmare at testing. After breaking down multiple times and only completing 26 laps in the first 2 days, Honda investigated their power unit and found the cause of some of the failures. But in doing that, they had an extreme lack of spare parts. On the third day, Aston Martin was set to focus on short stints to protect the reliability of the engine. And those short stints were only 6 laps. By Stroll, who didn't set a time because he spun out in his first 2 laps and then just didn't set one. The struggle is pretty real for Aston Martin. Now over to Cadillac. While they didn't have as nightmarish of a test as Aston Martin did, they're still way behind the race pace. And some people saying that Cadillac, as well as Aston Martin, might struggle to qualify for races due to the 107% rule. The only way the stewards would allow a team to qualify after failing to meet the 107% rule is if they showed good race pace in free practice. Now that could be fine for Cadillac. Not sure about Aston Martin, but Cadillac should be safe. Loden, the team principal, said he's very happy with Cadillac and fans shouldn't read too much into the small issues they had. I'm hopeful for a team with a strong driver pairing. They just need a semi-decent car to help them get them in the points. And I think they'll qualify. I don't think they'll struggle with the 107%, but who knows. Another big loser of this test was Williams, who were reportedly 20 to 40 kilograms overweight. After finishing 5th last year in the Constructors' Championship, this is a huge disappointment for Williams fans. The 2026 season was supposed to be their big rebuild, cementing their place at the top of the midfield. But it's not looking good. Bowser said that the 2026 season is going to be a big opportunity for Williams. So we hope they don't blow it Otherwise, they could be going backwards. Over at Alpine, with their new Mercedes power unit, it's on the rise. After a disastrous 2025, they're hoping to recover in 2026 and to get a spot in the top of the midfield. After they put limited resources into their 2025 car, they pushed a lot of their development to the 2026 car. So it's good to see that they're succeeding, at least in testing. We'll see when they get on track. Along with Alpine at the top of the midfield, Racing Bulls is looking reasonably strong. The new Ford powertrain has been reliable, and Lindblad got a huge amount of laps, especially in the final day, breaking the record for the most laps at a Bahrain test in a single day by a single driver. 5th place for the constructors could be very interesting this year, as long as the results from testing carry through to the races. And if Lindblad has a good rookie season, or a decent one, I reckon it'll be good. Now let's talk about Audi, another new team on the grid. After taking over from Sauber, people assumed Audi would be contesting for last place with Cadillac, since they're the new 2 teams on the grid. But Audi are looking in pretty decent shape and aiming for the midfield rather than a back marker. Audi's background in motorsports should hopefully give them the edge in mid-season development, and their car upgrades should hopefully secure them a midfield slot. But with the new regs, who really knows? And a new team, who really, no one knows. And finally, HAAS. Now, they had a pretty quiet test, nothing crazy happened with them, and they didn't have any major issues. Running the Ferrari power unit, they had great success with the race start practices, being able to fly off the line. So in a race start for real, we could see some impressive corner 1 stuff from HAAS. But with the help of their Ferrari power unit, they could be looking at contesting for maybe 6th or 5th place with Alpine and Racing Bulls. I think it's going to be a really interesting midfield this year. And that's how each team is heading into Australia. Let me know where you think each team will place in the Constructors' Championship this year. Make sure you're following so you don't miss any of my breaking news shorts. And if you'd like to support me, my Discord, Twitch, and Patreon is down below in the description.